Hey everybody, Mike McWilliams, Upstairs to the Right Music channel. Thank you so much for signing in this Sunday at Mike's, this Sunday evening, here live from Amsterdam. Thank you for showing up tonight and welcome to all you all. Let me set up my chat here. All right, I think we're ready to go here. I really do appreciate you spending your time. Time is a valuable commodity, and spending a little bit of yours with me is always appreciated. So thank you so much for doing so. If you're the first time viewer of the live stream here, welcome. And if you like the contents that you see on this channel, don't forget to subscribe with us. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I know that we can do it. The metrics tell me that you're watching, but you haven't committed. So if you're hanging on the fence there, why don't you do so? Go ahead and subscribe with us and join the conversation. Speaking of joining the conversation, here's Ben Allmark in Denro. Greetings from Athens, Georgia. Greetings, Mike, from Ben. Mr. Watson's in the house saying hello to everybody. Welcome, welcome. We are getting the live stream full here. As we're waiting for the live stream to fill up here, usually I try to start off whatever interesting tidbit is going around here with me. The guitars that I purchased in Japan are on their way, and this is the worst part. It really is. This is the most nerve-wracking part because you don't know. I mean, you hope that they'll show up in good condition. And the guy that I have sending them over has gotten really, he actually, honestly, he never did a guitar boxing before in his life until he met me. And now I would say that he can hold his own with the best. But you always worry. You don't want any headstock breaks. You don't want any unnecessary things. So keep our fingers crossed that that comes through. Then I can share it with you guys. I was going around town to just pop in to the shops and say hello. Sort of a business calling. And I found some knobs that I bought on a whim. I thought they might be great for this combination. What do you guys think? So I'm thinking about converting this Strat plate. It's fully loaded. It's already got these black pickups in it, but I like to put in these cream pickups, and I found some cream. Can you guys see that? Yeah, I found some cream knobs here, and the old knob, if I have, yeah, it used to be like that. So I'm kind of digging this combination. I don't know what you guys think. I just stumbled upon these, at a shop. I paid a total of about €1 for them. So you can't beat that. And now I know, and he had quite a few others, different styles. Yeah, I like it too. I'm digging that. I appreciate you chiming in on that, man. Yeah, I'm really digging that combination. And then again, like I said, we'll paint that body, like a gray, maybe a charcoal gray. And I think with that going on and that neck, it'll be popping. It'll look nice. So yeah, just, buck, basically less than a buck. I got these for. Yeah, dig that, So score on a find. Doesn't have to be the holy grail. I found a 59 Les Paul gathering dust in the corner of an old lady's shop. Thank you, Michael. I think so too, man. It just came to me because I wanted to use these, but I really didn't like these black knobs. I just, that this came with. But when I saw these, I said, well, it's cheap enough. I can take it home and see if it matches. And boy, I would say that's pretty close. That's actually really super, super duper close. So yeah, I'm slowly, slowly putting this project together. It's starting to come together. If you take your time, good things will eventually come to you. Again, like I said, I didn't expect that, and it worked out. So a pleasant surprise there with this one. That's about it. Nothing really, really big this week. As you know, I was a big pedal guy. You know, for years. You can on this channel documented, especially in Singapore, where I was documenting my pedal collections quite frequently, and they were not shrinking; they were expanding. And I've sold off a lot of them, and because I've come to the realization that a Klon pedal, for example, as a clean boost and as a great and as an overdrive, which is where it really shines, is about all you really need. And if you can find a good Klon copy, it doesn't have to be a KTR, which is about $1,000, or original Klon, which will cost you about 5,000. No, you can find others. There are other companies out there that have them. Matty Two Hats in the house. Rock and roll. Rock and roll in here too. Welcome. And it's a basic kind of thing that you can get a lot out of. I think there is a story out there about John Mayer having the Blues Breaker and having the Klon on his pedal board. And for a while, he was going back and forth between the two of them, basically using them as a clean boost, maybe a little bit of overdrive there. But eventually, the Blues Breaker went off his pedal board and the Klon stayed. And I myself, it's been documented on this channel, I had an original Blues Breaker, and I have a one-for-one replication of a Klon copy on my pedal board. And I switched between the two of those. You guys, I saw that documented here, and I too came to the same conclusion that the Klon went head over heels, a better space saver and a better pedal than the Blues Breaker. Mickey's in the house. Welcome, Mickey. Welcome. And I came to that conclusion myself. I did the same exact, test after a period of about a year or so. And so I bring all this up. So where are you going with this, Mike? So I bring all this up to the fact that I am in the mindset to find a pedal. There's a specific one that I'm looking for my pedal board that I think would be advantageous. And I decided to take a look at Reverb and a couple other, even the local shops here. And what I'm seeing is, on average, and I'm going to call this first section the Great Pedal Sale of 2024. Because what I'm seeing on average, especially if you go on Reverb, which is always a decent metric, especially now that you can get the States and you can get Europe stats, things like that. The pedal market is seeing discounts anywhere between 14 and 23% across the board. And these are small time sellers like the guy that I deal with. Well, he's not so small time. Medium, I would call him a small to medium sized company. Of course, a lot of the shops around here and other folks. Dr. Powell, long time no see. Welcome. Thank you so much for showing up. Hey. So I'm going to call this the Great Pedal. So I've never seen, every pedal, not every other pedal, but every pedal on where I was looking at, and specifically the one that I'm looking for, had discounts on them. And of course, this is not surprising. We're always talking about the guitar market on this channel. And we're always talking about, oh my God, the prices of these XYZ guitars are just going through the roof. And why is that? And we talk about that. But, it's the same thing for the pedal market as well, even worse, because you got to have a guitar in order to make the pedal work. Unless you're an otaku, which is a Japanese term for a collector or a study like a real into hobbyist, I guess is the best way to translate that. You're not just going to have a pedal collection sake for a pedal collection sake. You're going to have a guitar first. So we see that in the pedal market that that's reflected in the dips that we're seeing in the prices there. Now, I'm looking for two pedals. I'm kind of digging the new, what is it, the Boss. And these two pedals are actually very similar to each other. I'm blanking on the Boss pedal, but the other one is the Aux Stomp from Universal Audio. And the Boss pedal that I'm looking at, both of them are speaker, cabinet, microphone emulation pedals. I had one on my board that I used for recording, and it was a great sounding, but it had its limitations. I couldn't put anything into it, and the mic placement was okay, but it was a little static, and there was no effects on it at all. Zero. Don, thank you, Ben. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. The Boss IR2, yeah. And so I'm looking at the IR2, and I'm looking at the Aux Stomp. Now, one of the things that I'm really digging about the Aux Stomp is the fact that it has a built-in 1176. The 1176 compressor, I'll give you one of my, I don't know if it's a secret, but I'll give you one of my recording tips. If you really, really want a good rock guitar sound, get yourself a 1176 compressor and learn how to work it. Because every song that I've recorded, I used to have an actual 1176 in the late 90s. I used to have an Eventide as well. Those are gone along with my 8-track Fostex reel. All those have disappeared in the sands of time. But when I seriously got back into recording again, the first thing that I bought was 1176 software plugin emulation. And it just so happens that the Aux Stomp has an 1176 built into it. I really wonder how flexible it is, because there are certain settings that I set it to, but I assume that it's got the same panel board as an original one. So that's something to me, because boy, it's got effects in it, it's got reverbs in it, it's got compressors, amp sims in it, it's got mics in it. It's really the whole package. And if you put something like that on your pedal board, you're good to go again for recording. Because these days, you walk in with an amp and some mics, they're going to look at you like they're going to throw you out. No, and sometimes they just want to go directly into the board, but sometimes you can bring in your board and you can, do it that way. Certainly for live recording, it's all you need. You need your gig bag with your guitar and your case with your pedal board in it, and that's it. You're ready to rock. Andrew357, welcome. Thank you so much for contributing. I have 25 pedals plus 3 small boards with 6 each on, and a big board with the rest on, of course. Can only use one board at a time, so daft that I would build up so many. Well, no, because I can kind of do this. Like, I swing on the fence on this one about guitars, because if you're in a studio situation, a recording environment, or a gigging environment, then having different size boards depending upon the gig or the recording session is useful. Certainly, again, it's about bringing what you need and having what you don't ready for another time when it is. So that's not a bad thing. Not too daft there. Don Juan Campbell in the house. Hi, Mike and everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. We hope you're doing well as well. We are. We are here for another Sunday night. We made it through another week somehow. We'll make it through the next one, God willing. So that's all good. Yeah, but every UA pedal right now is basically at 336.31 to be exact euros. So, which I should have looked at before I sat down. I guess I could do that real quick. 336 point 31 euro. All right. What did we get on that? That comes out to 364 US. So, it's funny to me. These universal audio pedals, I very rarely see them in the secondhand market used. And when I do, I've never seen them under this price here, And now that and these are the new ones at this price with dealers. Now that these are priced where they're at, I'm hoping that in the secondary market, those guys say, okay, we've got to drop our prices as well. But the second thing that it tells you is that they're really not moving. These are all, especially the Aux Stomp, I do believe is one of their newest releases. And they're discounting them 23% off. 23% off. So very interesting there. Now, I haven't decided yet between the two. I have Veenendaal on the 21st of March coming up. Veenendaal is the big guitar trade show twice a year they have here in the Netherlands. And there's another one that I missed that is a little bit actually closer to Amsterdam. The Veenendaal is a little bit of a hike, but well, it's actually a lot of bit of a hike, but I missed out on. I need to look into, but Veenendaal is the main one. And they have pedal dealers there as well. I'm hoping somebody might have one of these Aux Stomps and I might be able to secure one that way. I prefer to do it direct with a guy at a trade show. You get a better deal if you're paying cash, and I'll get it at where I think I would want to pay for it, I hope. But we shall see. I actually haven't seen one. I didn't see I was looking last time. If you guys remember, I mentioned that. I did not see one. So these things, I don't know who's buying them. They're not showing up a lot on the secondary market, and they're discounting these. What does that say? So there's that, guys. All right. So what we got here, we've got plenty of people showing up here in the live stream. I got 11 people watching and 3 likes. Something wrong with the math there. Join me and hit the like button, guys. I appreciate that. That really does help. Okay, tonight's subject. I really do have the desire to sit here on Sundays and now Wednesday nights with my crew, with you guys, and talk about light issues, nothing heavy, and when it does get that way, I try to lighten up a little bit of humor. That's just the way that I am. Gallows humor, I guess is what they call it in this case. And I want to keep it light, but there are some things that come about and come around that make me so angry that I can't really process the sheer evilness behind some things that happen. And I entitled tonight's live stream, Spotify decided to steal openly and are proud about it. Now, I'm not trying to be clickbaity with that, and I did write that title when I was angry, and I decided, well, this is what I'm going to talk about tomorrow for sure when I was reading about it. And, so that's really how I was feeling at the moment. And when I say steal open, that's quite an accusation. and proud of it, that's quite an accusation. And I will break those two accusations down so that you can see that I mean that and I can show you that without question. Yeah, that is exactly what's going on in this situation. Now, let's preface this with I wish I had sound effects. Right now, I would play like 50s music, like you know, and I would say back in the day when I was younger. Okay, 50s. No, that's not right at all. But but imagine a time back in the day when the average consumer would spend in the old days, they would buy about 3 to 4 long paying records, LPs or CDs, on average per year. That's just the average consumer. I'm not talking about the real audiophile, but the average consumer, average Joe, between the ages of 16 to 24. So if you take that, extrapolate it out, the average collection of about 30 LPs, CDs, before moving on in life, after 24, you're looking at marriage, you're looking at kids, you're looking at work, you're looking at other interests, and you move on. But that is the core of your collection, and that's true. It's true, with most folks. And so you'll spend a total, averaging about $10 per record. You'll spend between that period of time, between the ages of 16 and 24, about $1,200 on that collection. And that was the way it was. And I would say that sounds about right, especially with me. Yeah, I would buy on average about 2 or 3 albums a year, and I think you guys, again, will be more on the minus or plus side, but on average, that's about right. So if you agree with me on that. Now, streaming, on average, costs you $10 per month. And that's on the cheap side. I'm being real generous because I'm trying to get it close to that $10 that you used to spend on buying one LP. But on average, a streaming service will cost you about $10 per month, let's say, and that's per streaming service. If you're signed up to multiple streaming services, it'll cost you more. Now, by the age of 24, you've spent about between that 16 and 24 period of age, you would have spent about $960 per streaming service, if as it stands today, as it is in modern times. That's per service. Now you say to yourself, well, it was $1,200, Mike, that you said to get my base collection between the ages of 16 and 24, and it's $960 in streaming costs. So certainly there's a discount there if you stream, and that's why people make the statement that streaming is cheaper. However, I will point out to you that if you stop paying the subscription to the streaming service, you got zero. So if you're paying 16 through 24 and then the 24th birthday, I'm not going to pay anymore. Doggone it, I just want to hear what I had. No, you're locked out. You don't own that collection. You don't own the physical media. That's just one aside. This is something I want to throw out there. These are things that before I get into the main subject, I just want to throw these little tidbits out there for you guys to chew on and think about as I go through this, because I have quite a bit to go through tonight. Now, so chew on that. Now, in order to upload to Spotify, you have to go through a distribution service. My distribution service that I started with in 2011 was CD Baby, and I was recommended to them by my guitar teacher, and he really at that time, and he really thought that that was good for me. High Tide Harris, the Blues Hall of Famer. He was in Japan. And he said, "Oh, Mike, you should put your stuff up on CD Baby. Use them as a distribution service for you." And of course, that comes at a cost. It's not free. They charge, and it costs in order to post things up. They'll say, "Hey, for $1.99, you can this week you can put up a whole album or something like that." But you have to pay. That's pay to play. That's essentially what that is. And it also makes the distribution services a lot of reason to be in bed with Spotify, for example, because they are the gatekeepers. You can't get onto Spotify unless you get onto one of these distribution services, and you can't get onto one of the distribution services unless you pay. And it is to the benefit of these distribution services to keep the amount of distribution services to a minimum so that their per diem goes up. Tommy Mac 16 in the house. No, appreciate you here. We're just getting warmed up here. Just throwing out a couple of facts before I dig into this really. So it's pay to play, guys. Can't get on Spotify unless you get through unless you go through a distribution service, and that costs. Okay, so there's that. There's that. Now, what is it that's got me and most people up in arms about the latest change in terms of service at Spotify Inc.? Their new terms state. Now, what I'm going to do is there's two parts to this that I'd like to get into. I'm going to take each line of this and go through them separately so that we don't confuse such that we have a clarity on what each of these lines means, and so bear with me. But the first line states, by them, terms of service, that tracks that are under 1,000 plays during within a 12-month period are not eligible for payment anymore. So within a period of time, 12 months, they've stated, if an album or track that you upload onto the through your distribution service onto Spotify does not rate 1,000 spins within that period, you will not get paid. 1,000 spins, by the way, works out to roughly $4. So let's keep that in mind too. And that's going to be a point that people are going to bring up later about, oh, well, it's such little money. No, we're going to talk about that too. But let's put a pin in that one. So they've stated, so part one of this, new terms, if you aren't getting 1,000 spins within a 12-month period, then we are not going to pay you. Now, I will start this out by saying that I think, no, let me start that over again. I always like to throw out a solution. I don't like to just state problems and just hammer on them. And this one is such an easy nail to hammer. But there's a simple solution to what it is that they are supposedly trying to address here. See, it costs money to send out. Say I have 1,000 plays, and I made $4 on my song. Well, they have to send that out, and that costs them money in order to do that. Back in the old days, it used to be postage stamps. Now it's whatever fees PayPal or other people, whatever service they're using, charges them. Since they're a big company, they're getting at a steep discount, but trust me, there is a cost there. And in their minds, they are saying, "Hey, that's too little money." ABZ band, the ABZ band only had 500 plays. We only owe them $2 this year. It's too little bit of money. um, for this one single that they put up. So we're no longer going to pay them for that. That is the gist, the essential thought behind this. Because, and of course, the reasoning being that the cost to mail out, so to speak, these checks to these people that they owe is too onerous. Don Juan Campbell. It's always been paid to play, but the problem is like back in the day with the like of companies like Pandora was playing, stealing artist music and not paying the artists. Yeah, man, we're gonna get into that. This whole, again, Spotify decided to steal openly. So again, I said I was gonna break that title down, and I was going to talk about the steal and the proud part. So here's the steal part we're going through. Don't want, again, they find ways to keep you from playing your own music and getting paid for it as well. Yeah, it's called gatekeepers. And again, that's what the distribution services are. They're gatekeepers. And there are gatekeepers on every level in the entertainment business, believe me. But in this case, we are talking about this particular set of gatekeepers. Now, ABZ Band says, what the hell? We actually had 99 plays on that track. And you actually owe us $4. But it doesn't hit your 1,000 threshold, so you get to keep that $4. It's 999 plays. And that's essentially what's being said here. And what if ABZ Band had an album? And not just one album, they had a compilation of albums or singles. And each one of those hit 999 plays, $4 each, but they had 20 of them or 30 of them. Multiply that number. Okay? $120 that they would be owed at that point. So, depending upon how much they contributed. But they didn't hit none of that cumulative body of work on an individual track level hit that threshold of 1,000. Now, you'll say to yourself, well, Mike, even at $120, for a year, that's not a lot of money. Well, if you grew apples and on your own farm, and you took them to a market, in order to get into that marketplace, of course, you had to pay a stall fee. You had to pay a fee so that you could even display your apples. And you had 1,000 apples for sale. And that day when the guy came around and said, okay, you had 1,000 apples for sale, how many did you sell? And you said, well, I only sold 999. Well, you wouldn't say that. You'd say, I sold 999. Isn't that great? I only got one left. And he said to you, well, I'm sorry, we're going to have to take the proceeds from those 999 apples that you sold, because our terms of service clearly states that you have to sell 1,000 in this particular market in order to keep your money, get your money. But any other metric, that's stealing. That's stealing. That's theft. But let me go on. Let me talk about the law. The law states that any music streamed or downloaded counts as a reproduction royalty and are entitled to payment. So legally, I don't know how this flies. We'll talk about this down the line. I do know. But the law, in theory, let's put it that way, states that any music streamed or downloaded counts as a reproduction royalty, and you as the songwriter are entitled to payment. And that is regardless of the amount. That's why some CD Baby accounts will have pennies in it, or a few dollars. Some will have hundreds. It really depends. But it doesn't matter. That money is what the artist earned. Okay. So by a moral and legal standard, this is stealing. I've just now demonstrated to you. Now, let's talk about the second part of what they said. So they said, new terms, any tracks under 1,000 spins within this time period will no longer get paid. Now, they said, we anticipate that this will result in $40 million that we can then use to go to artists that do get 1,000 streams or more. Let you guys think about that one for a second. Shouldn't take you too long. It's not like Jeopardy. We don't need the da 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 da. Let me read that again. And the result of this, they anticipate, will be a $40 million windfall that they can then use to go to the artists that do get 1,000 streams or more to pay them. So, not only did the market guy at the little farmer's market take your money for your 999 apples that you did sell, just short by one, doggone it, but you were short. And then they took that money and gave it to Aldi or Ralph's or Albert Heijn or Tesco, because that's essentially what they're saying here. That's what they're saying. They're saying all you other bummy artists who aren't making the cut, we're going to take your money to pay these artists who are by our metric. Now, I said that I like to give a solution to this. Now that we know why they're doing it and what their thought process is behind it, I would say, okay, if it's too troublesome for you to send out small checks on a quarterly or whatever basis, then you set a payment threshold. You say that you allow the artist to dictate what that payment threshold is. That's what it's like on YouTube. I can set how much at what point when I get paid, hit that threshold, then they'll pay me out. I can set it really high, I can set it really low. And that is an ongoing, continuous thing. It's not within a 12-month period. It is an ongoing thing. And why, for the life of me, Spotify couldn't do something similar to that, I do not know. Because they could say, hey, we know you're only making $4 a year, but we're going to say our threshold and the minimum is $20. It may take 4 years, but if you got more tracks than that, it won't take that long. Again, if you're ABC, which most people are, and you've got a few tracks on there, that will add up very quickly. So, when you guys hit, $100 or $50 or whatever, then we'll pay that. Or a minimum of 20, and then we'll set a minimum of 20, and then you can set it from there. But whenever you hit that, then we'll pay that out. That works for us. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. So, just to recap that, you sell 999 apples that you grew at your own local farm. You go to a local co-op. They say if you want to sell at this co-op, first you got to pay a fee to get a stand. And then you've got to sell 900, you've got to sell, 1,000 or more apples this day, or we're going to take all your money and give it to Tesco or Ralph's or Albert Heijn. That's the gist of their, of what they're saying. Well, we'll take that $40 million and we'll give it on to the artists. And who are those artists? Taylor Swifts of the world? So their cut's going to get even bigger? So, she's going to start wearing jets like, high heels, one on each foot. Like Boba Fett. Seriously. Just let that sink in. You have to pay to get on Spotify. And once you pay that fee to get on the privilege of being on Spotify, you may or may not get paid by them. So, so without question, this gives a lot of reason for me to be upset. Don Juan says it's true. It will go to artists who are backed by the machine. Yes, we said that. That's a $40 million slush fund. That's a $40 million slush fund called crony capitalism. They had record profits this year, Spotify. Yet, they also just recently laid off 14% of their workforce. Their gross margin was 30% with 70% payouts. That's crony capitalism by any metric. 14% staff reduction when you have record profits and your stock is up, and now you're stealing $40 million or more. They're saying it's $40 million. I bet you it's a lot more than that, because anyway, creating this slush fund, So, let's entice XYZ artists to come over. Well, how do we pay for that? Oh, let's pay for it out of these suckers who haven't got 999 spins on their collection that we're ripping off. Don Juan, this one's got you on fire, I see tonight. This is the way the record companies make their money back from all the changes in the industry, with Spotify getting kickbacks for doing it. Yeah. Getting kickbacks, ripping off any artists. Yeah, so this is all on the backs. This is all on the backs of me. Certainly. It's certainly on the back of me, I have to say. And I am not happy by a long shot about this, because I am one of those guys who don't hit that threshold, but my collective royalties that I had coming in, they're averaging a couple, $100 more or less every now and then that I can count on. And now that's gone. I'm so glad that I moved over to Bandcamp with my Asanoki project. The only music you'll find on Spotify of mine is under Mike McWilliams, my first 4 albums. My last 2 albums I put on Bandcamp, and when one of you guys buy it, literally literally and honestly, I'm not throwing that word out there, loosely. I will receive payment in minutes. In minutes, I'll get a notification. Bandcamp takes their cut, goes straight to me. Don't have to deal with CD Baby. I don't have to deal with Spotify and their bullshit terms of service. And it's pretty clear cut. James in the house. Well, you are my funky soul brother too, brother. I'm so glad you are here. Thank you so much for showing up, man. I am so glad to see you. We're just sitting here talking about Spotify and how they're just the worst. They're the worst. They're the worst in a lot of ways. We're sitting here talking about the destruction of the indie artists in terms of even that little bit, that couple $100 that they're not going to be paying out to a lot of these cats now, that couple $100 could buy a pedal that a guy said, hey, when I get my Spotify money, I can afford to buy that pedal. When I get my Spotify money, I can afford to get that Harley Benn guitar or something like that, And it's a trickle-down effect. But Spotify has been the destroyer of the industry and jobs since it came around. It killed the industry of production, distribution, and sales of records and CDs. The pressing plants, the distribution plants, the vinyl makers, thousands of jobs. Thousands of jobs. It killed radio. It killed radio. Radio is, they say radio is dead. It's not dead, man. It's like in a museum and people are walking by and a little girl says, "Daddy, what is that?" Well, that's called a radio. It's dead. We just had the bones of one now. Yeah, it killed the radio. Pretty good. And it killed a lot, thousands of jobs. Thousands of jobs. So you can directly tie to Spotify. So why should it surprise you that they are now literally driving in the stake in the heart of the indie artist? Man, two hats. I'd sum it up like this. It's late stage capitalism in play. Very good. Indie musicians are modern day serfs, but possibly even worse off. Yeah, man, because again, we're, there is a minimum. There's a Spotify. There's a software that I use when I'm mastering. That it sets the standard for that track to be able to be played on Spotify, to be accepted. And and when you're mastering it, you got to make sure that you don't redline it. It's very, very, very and when if you master it and print it with this, you can say I mastered and printed with this, and generally those tracks are accepted. And I've used it myself. Now that costs money. I can do it myself because this is what I do. But somebody might have to go to a studio and pay a person to do that. There's a cost. Directly, again, tied into even getting onto the format in the first place. Mickey Newman. I hate to say it, but non-musicians and people that don't have anything to do with music all have Spotify accounts. I tell them how evil the platform is, but literally nobody cares. Yeah, they're supposedly saying, oh, we've got too many environmental music tracks on here, or air music, or things that are, causing a clog in our algorithms, and we're trying to discourage. That's one of the reasons why they gave for doing this as well. We're trying to clean out our algorithm of that stuff. But it just so conveniently also wraps in everybody else who has serious work on there, who bought the equipment, who bought the engineering time, or bought a computer and engineered themselves, or bought a real, again, the costs that go into even playing the game in the first place. It's costs every step of the way. And then when you finally get to Spotify, hey, I got a track. They say it's okay for playing. I'm going to put it up. And they say, well, good luck with that, guy. Better hope you get 1,000 spins on it, because we're not going to pay you if you don't. Mickey Newman, people want free or cheap music. Nobody wants to pay for the art. This started a good few years ago when music appeared on the internet. Well, Metallica, they warned us. Prince, he warned us. They warned us. They said, hey, especially Prince, because I admired him greatly, still do, despite his end. But I clearly recall him saying decades ago, this is going to lead to no good, y'all. And boy, was he right. Don Juan says, this is a sore point for me from being under Sony and RCA in my younger years and going through the nastiness of the music industry. I love music, but I have a disdain for the industry and those platforms. Yes. Me too. One of the reasons why I went off to Japan again was because the parent company was taking 3 months to pay me. I was sitting there working for Babyface, and it would take months to get my paycheck. because I had to go through the main company, parent company, and then I had to go through his label in order to get paid. Drove me to Japan, which ended up being one of the best decisions of my life, but again. Mickey Newman, in years past, I knew when my new albums were going to drop, I would pre-order and save up for new albums. I miss those, yeah, the old days, you know. Again, and that intimacy, again, that tactile thing, that holding it, that feeling of it is a lot better than, you know, owning an empty stream. Again, if your phone dies, if you stop paying your streaming fees, guess what? It's gone. Maybe you download it, maybe you have a downloaded collection somewhere, great. Most likely, probably not. Music, Maddie Two Hats. Musicians pay for everything. The means of production, the experience to get to a certain level, the promo, the labor, the ability to upload to Spotify, and they flick the artist a middle finger. That's what I'm saying tonight, guys. Thank you. Everybody's getting me now. Now you understand why I said Spotify decided to steal. I've proven that both on a moral level and a law level, a legal level, and are proud about it. They're proud about it, guys. Oh, we're really proud about it because this money we're going to use for our slush fund. You know, to give to the other artists who deserve it more than you bums, you serfs. James says Don Juan, Prince was an advocate for our music rights. Yes, that's one of the reasons he did that name change thing. It wasn't because he was being weird. He had a point. James says Prince was an awesome guitarist, one of the best. Top 5. Mickey Newman. Yeah, Prince told us this would happen in the 90s. Yeah, dig that, guys. Y'all remember that? You guys remember that? It couldn't just be me. I didn't dream it. I was dreaming when I wrote this. Excuse me. You know, no, he said that, and he warned us, and Metallica as well. And they got ripped by the mainstream, which are in cahoots. Interesting. All true. Tommy Mac 16 is terrible. Fully a financial decision with no regard for supporting the artists. Seems like Spotify has taken over for the record industry and ripping off artists. No, they're just their proxies. They haven't taken over. They're their proxies. They've become the proxies. Mark my words, that $40 million plus a year is going to be going to the record companies as payoffs for whatever. They had to find the money from somewhere in order to fund it. Most nefarious organizations always find nefarious ways in order to get that money, in order to do that nefarious thing. That's just the way that works. Maddie Two Hats. Prince would be so pissed at Spotify, though. Yeah, man. Yeah. Spotify is the new Pandora. They're all bad. Prince, I think, had hoped to get rid of their labels and have more direct relationship with the audience. He did. Again, these artists were true artists, and that's why he set up his own website. He did everything that he could to sell direct in the end when he was able to. And I think that's one of the reasons why he got 86th. I always say, Prince's death, what do they say about conspiracy? Conspiracy theory today in 6 months is the truth. But everyone should be pissed at Spotify. Yes, I'm spelling these things out. Now, one last thing before we go. I want to read something from a guy named David Lowery. David Lowery has for years been fighting Spotify. He's won judgments against them. And this is what he has to say about this. Federal governments force writers to license songs at below market rates. So he went right over Spotify and said it's the federal governments that are ultimately allowing Spotify to do this. So there's an answer there. Lobby your senator or your congressman, your parliamentarian, whatever kind of system your country you find yourself under, legal system you find yourself under, lobby your representative, your MP, and ask, start saying, hey, what can we do to bring light to this? Because it's just something that's not right. Honestly speaking, this is a private company that a private equity company basically, and they are beholden to no one actually at the end of the day. So they are stealing openly, and they are proud about it. I think tonight I have more than well enough to establish those two statements to be absolutely true. And again, you know, there's no ways around it. There's no two ways about it. And it infuriates me because now I can pretty much well count that extra, $100 or so, and it's a great thing. It pays for a pedal here. Hey, it'll pay for, a lunch there. It'll pay for something that comes up there, but that's gone for me. And I earned that. I put my catalogs up on Spotify under the agreement that they would pay me, you know. And that is now no, I have to now go back and hustle that music, you know, to the extent, never mind, yeah, it's serfdom. I've contributed to them, and I am now going to try to find ways to take that music away from them. I'm not playing that game. I'm out. I'm going to remove what music I had, those 4 albums I have on Spotify. 4 albums and 2 singles. 2 singles. I'm really going to remove them. I'm done. This is the last kick in the pants, man. You and it's quite a kick. It's quite a kick, and I will put them up on. Even though these are decades old albums now, I will put them up on under Mike McWilliams, not under Asanoki. I want to keep those two projects separate, even though it's all me. But I'm a Gemini. I like to keep those two things separate, so I'll put it up under Mike McWilliams and sell it that way, or not. But either way, I'm happier on Bandcamp than I ever have been on Spotify. I really am. And every time you guys support this channel by going to Bandcamp, looking up Asanoki, the band, and buying one of the 2 albums that are available there, that gets me out of the grip of Spotify. It supports me directly. As I said, I get paid immediately. That money literally goes directly. I don't use it for anything else but going back into the channel again. These lights, extra light, this new light stand that I'm using is a result of you guys supporting this channel and buying the album. I used the proceeds to buy this light stand, this new lighting system. So I thank you, because again, I like that model. I told you guys the story of the stone soup. Guy comes in with a stone, everybody's starving, and he says, well, does anybody got some potatoes? I got some old potatoes, brings them out. Everybody has a little something that they bring together, they put it in a pot, and they all eat. And that's the kind of community that I've always wanted to build here, and I am so pleased that that is exactly the one that I have. And it's a blessing that I don't have to do, that I can now really walk away from these Spotify guys. It's because of you guys that I can on a personal level, that I can walk away from them now. And I appreciate your support and for that, and giving me that freedom. A lot of guys don't have a YouTube. YouTube channel is another thing that you have to do. You got to buy the cameras. You got to buy the lighting. You got to do the research. You got to buy a computer so that you can edit what you're filming. Unless you do live streams like this, where you really don't have to. But if you want to do some serious stuff, you have got to do a little bit of editing. And that's a whole nother thing too. Don Juan says, Mike, your band's album is great. Thank you, man. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a Trent Reznor situation going on there, if you know what I mean. But I appreciate that. Ants in the Pantry is a great album, Mike. I've been playing it daily, man. Uh, Mike, your band. I just read that. Manitou Hats. Manitou Hats. I do appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me. You know, it really does. It does. That somebody's digging it. Because I put my foot in it. I really did. You know, there's no half stepping on that. I put my foot in that album because that was it. I knew that was my song swan. And, you know, again, I look at Asanoki and Ants in the Pantry as being bookended. There's actually, if I could retitle it, I would call it Asanoki Volume 1 and 2, because I do think that those two albums complement each other. 18 tracks of music, guys. Please check one or the other out. Please support this channel. Go to Bandcamp and buy the album. Mickey Newman. I remember Pearl Jam saying about Tuesday music industry, the music industry ripping everybody off. Now I can't afford to go and see themselves. Well, no, they're victims of the industry that they got into, and they've got to ride that wave or be crushed by it. If they could price their tickets so that more people would come, I have no doubt that they would. But they're not in control of that. Again, there's a gatekeeper there too. What was that? Live Nation? That's a gatekeeper. There's gatekeepers. Again, I started this out, preface this by saying there's a gatekeeper at almost every level in the film and music industry. And I want you to always keep that in your mind, because then you begin to understand Spotify and their related distributors, you know, companies, and you understand what that is, what it truly is. So there's that. Manitou Hats. Pearl Jam tried their best to keep prices down, but it's not the 90s where inflation is there too as well. Ben Allmark, Eddie Vedder's total sellout in my opinion. Yeah, you're not the first person I heard say that, man. I don't know him, but I've been digging Pearl Jam as long as you guys have, and but you really have. But I'm not so sure myself. Listen to the last Howard Stern interview. I have to turn it off and discuss. Yeah, in that case, I don't want to hear it. My suspicions are probably be proved with that. And Pearl Jam have been my favorite band growing up. I've seen them 6 times. Yeah, some people let you down. Never fall in love with your idols. Never, ever do that. Because when you meet them, boy, you may be in for a surprise. Or when you dig in deep with them, you can dig, but I can separate the man from the music. I'm digging the tunes. I may not dig the guy himself, but the track is still righteous. I told you guys, I got a problem with Eric Clapton. I'm sorry, I do. I got a problem with Clapton. That shit that he said, excuse my language, back in the day, he's really never really, in my opinion, apologized for that. And I don't care, if he's sitting on stage with B.B. King. I don't care. He still said what he said. So, some of these guys can be extremely difficult, but I can separate that. I can still listen to Layla and dig the hell out of it. I can make that kind of separation in my mind. All right, guys. I think we beat this horse to death. And interesting enough, I'm not as angry now at the end as I thought I thought I would get all worked up as I went through this, but actually, having this discussion with you guys and getting your input and your thoughts on it has confirmed what I thought, but it's kind of good to get it out, to vent in a way. Yeah, guys, go to Bandcamp. Asanoki is the name of the group. Check out the 2 albums there. Support this channel. Support our music. Don't forget to hit the likes. Thank you, sir. Michael Watson, I feel the same way about Clapping. You dig that, man? Dig that. Seriously. Ben Allmark. Mickey. Oh, that's Mickey. I'm going to check that. I myself, too, Ben, I am going to look at that. I'm curious now. But yeah, support this channel, guys, because that's really it at this point. You know, I got my YouTube check yesterday, and that, and you know, some loose change I got in my pocket, I may be able to pull off buying the Universal Audio aux stomp. Maybe if I supplement it by another €100 or so, if I see one. But yeah, you know, again, that's money that goes into this channel, and I'll review it and I'll use it to make music that I will use on this channel. So again, once you get started, it's good because then it starts paying for itself with the YouTube system, and the fact that they have a threshold and they pay out. Why Spotify can't do that, I do not know. I love Pearl Jam, always have, but man, I want to see a band not buy a car. Yeah, dig that, baby. You know, you better go by yourself. You know, baby, I want to take you to see Pearl Jam, but I'm gonna have to leave you at home tonight. That's not gonna go over too well with the significant other. Trust me. At these rates, what can you do? All right, guys, I'm going to say good night to you, and hope that you got something out of tonight's discussion. If you weren't aware what Spotify was doing, I'm glad that I brought it to your attention. And yeah, it's something, man. These guys are off the chart. They're off the chart. All right, guys. Cheers. I will see you Wednesday. Another note. If you guys haven't checked out the headphone review, please do that. Just for the sake of, again, supporting his channel so that the client can see that people are looking at it. Again, it was free thing, but to help them out, I want to support them. They're actually great guys. And so I've never done that before, but I like these guys. They're actually solid. So take a look at that video, earphone, earplug experience. Take a look at that. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.